Susan is an executive senior sales director. She has 5 offspring directors, 1 in San Antonio, Texas, 1 in Wimberley, Texas, 1 in San Angelo, Texas, 1 in Ocean Springs, Mississippi, and 1 in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. She has earned 13 career cars, 8 of them being the prestigious pink Cadillac. She has earned trips for her and her husband to Hawaii, Greece, Spain, Monaco, Beijing, China, and just returned from this past year's trip to Maui in September. Doesn't that just sound nice? It just sounds nice, you know. Susan has earned over $30,000 worth of diamonds. Susan has been in the unit circle 16 times, Circle of Excellence 6 times. She has 75 quarters of a star consultant status. She has, 75 quarters. We're talking about stars. You're a perfect example to come up after the star consultant mark. She is a double star achiever. Her highest retail production in 1 month for her and her team is $125,297. Susan's highest personal team as a director, her 13% commission check is $3,598.47, and her highest monthly director commission check is $18,891 for 1 month. Okay, so let's just look at your friends and go $18,891 for 1 month. $18,891 for 1 month. And then divide that by 30, and that's how much you get per day, even if you went to church and laid in bed one day. It's pretty nice. Susan treasures all that the Mary Kay business has taught her. She adores her husband of 31 years and the life they have together with their 3 children, 1 grandbaby, and 1 on the way. Susan believes that what matters most is who you are when no one is looking. And one of Susan's favorite scriptures is Galatians 6:9. Do not become weary in well-doing, for at the proper time you will reap a harvest if you do not give up. From San Antonio, Texas, Executive Senior Sales Director, Susan Moore.
To be here with the Kristen Meyer National Area because I feel like a very deep connection with Kristen and got to know Sandy and we are really, really excited to be here because we have so much to learn from each other, and so that's so exciting. One of the things I've noticed about Kristen is she has an incredible work ethic, which I think you pass that on. I think she has laser focus. I don't think that is everybody's gift, but I think it's an incredible gift, and I'm sure she's passing that on to you because I'm watching what y'all are doing, and it takes laser focus to earn a Cadillac, earn a trip, and become a national sales director, so that's an incredible gift. One of the greatest gifts that Cindy has given to me is she has taught me, because it's a natural gift to her, to finish, and finish big. And so when you hear those big checks and you hear that big retail month, it's because you have to finish. And my nature wasn't necessarily to do that big in a short amount of time. I'm more of a consistent personality style, so that gift was passed on to me by my leader. And I feel incredibly blessed to have been at Mary Kay. Not only that, but she is the fun in my life, as is my husband. And she stretches me, and she loves people for where they are. And that is an incredible gift to give. And so I hope that I can pass that on. I believe that by the grace of God, I stand before you. I think it's a miracle that I'm in Mary Kay, let alone had success in Mary Kay. But before I tell you a little bit about my success journey, I would love for the 3 people I have here that are in my incredible unit, soon to be $1 million unit and part of my national area, to please stand, from Alabama, Florida, and Georgia. Thank you for traveling to be with me. I'm very excited. Well, my journey started, my husband was brand new in the military. He was a PFC. We had no money. And if you know anything about the Army, if you're a PFC, it means you're living poor check to poor check and hoping that the direct deposit hits before the last thing you just spent money on. And I was Mark went to basic training without us. We had 2 small children, and when he got stationed somewhere for training, it was only going to be 4 months. And he would be the person who would be out talking to everybody, but I was at an apartment, and I decided, I probably should let the kids, play with some other kids, so I took him to Mother's Day Out. And there was a Mary Kay beauty consultant standing right there at Mother's Day Out. Her name was Rhonda. I feel like she's my angel. And she came by and she said, "Excuse me, but I can't help but notice how beautiful your eyes are. I would love to feature you as my model for the month of October. Would you be willing to come over and just let me take a before and after picture?" And I was so happy somebody talked to me, because I would have never said 2 words to anyone. And I was in my blue jeans and t-shirt. I was a fitness major. I probably wore lip gloss and mascara on my wedding day. I was not a makeup girl at all. So she was going to give me a makeover, and I thought that was like so amazing. So she came over, and she did, and I fell in love with the product. I'd never used a product that was great. I always had acne prone skin, so everything I put on my face broke me out. And Mary Kay was amazing. And I wanted everything, but I didn't have a dime to my name. So I just started asking her about her, and I asked her, what her husband did. She said she was a single mom. And I said, "Well, what else do you do?" And she said, "This is what I do, Mary Kay." And I said, "Well, tell me more about that." And so she called her sitter to stay a little bit longer, and she had this little notebook, kind of like a dream notebook or a recruiting notebook, and she was flipping through it. And I'm sure she was showing me pictures of all the fun she was having at Mary Kay, and, what we show people. And the only page I remember seeing is a check for $10,000, because I guess where we were, any check would have been good. But I saw that check and I figured, oh, that's probably somebody's, what they make for the years, selling lipstick. And she said, "No, that's my sales director's check for the month." And I said, "Somebody made $10,000 selling lipstick?" So I think I could learn to wear lipstick. And I wasn't thinking I was going to make $10,000. I just thought maybe I could make enough money to help us get to the end of our pay period with the military. So Mark came home. He saw me in makeup, and he was like, "Wow, what happened to you today?" And I said, "I think maybe I might want to sell Mary Kay." And he said, "We're moving in 2 weeks. You don't know anyone where we're moving. We're moving to a big city. And you hardly talk to me, let alone anyone else. And you didn't wear makeup before today, so who are you going to sell it to?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And of course I got a little bit of fear, but we moved, and Cindy followed up. And whatever she said to me on the phone, I mailed her a check. And back then we mailed checks through the mail. Thank God everything has changed. But that was the best check I ever spent in my whole entire life. And so I started going to training. Whatever Cindy told me to do, I was willing. And I'm telling you, that's all you have to do to be successful. Whatever your director says to do, do it. So I did. I just said, "Okay, I'm supposed to show up across town." I got in my car and showed up across town. But here's the thing, we only had 1 car. And Mark was in the military, so he would have to get up sometimes at 4:30 in the morning, go into PT. I know there's some military women in here, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. So for me to have the car, I had to put the kids in the car, drive them to PT at 4:30 in the morning, come back, put them back to bed so that I could work my business for that day. And he was on shift. So sometimes he'd have to go in at midnight. And it was like crazy, but they promised that if I did this and did this, I'd have a car. And I said, okay. So I just went to the sales meeting every single week, and one of the weeks there, they talked about fish bowls and facial boxes. I mean, they talked about giving out business cards, but I was one of those people that I had to grow into giving out my business cards. So I put out boxes everywhere. It was Christmas time. I came into Mary Kay this exact time. I was introduced in October. It was almost my birthday, and that's really why Mark said, buy the kid, give you your birthday and Christmas present. And that's the truth. And I just put all these boxes out and started calling people. And in less than a year, I earned my company car and became a sales director. And like I said, I feel it was by the grace of God. I think it's a miracle. But I'm so happy that God is part of my life because He unfolds so many amazing miracles for me. And looking back, I can see God's wings, and now I see God's billboards really big as to where I'm going. But sometimes you have to start really small and work your way to the next place where you can see a little bit farther. And you know, I could have said, I don't have any money, I don't have a car, I don't know anyone, I'm too shy, I don't have child care, I didn't know a soul. My husband's always gone, I'm not the sales type, I don't wear makeup, the timing's not right. But guess what? You're going to find the women who saw the same thing I saw. First of all, I trusted God that He was constantly tearing at my heart to do this. I saw a buyback guarantee. I saw training and I can learn. I saw a company car. I saw advancement with unlimited income. I saw buy for $1, sell for $2. Anybody can do that. I mean, that's the best thing you could possibly do. And because of that, I believe I lived one of the most amazing lives. You know, back then Cindy said go to the bank, or she went to the bank to get a loan, I think is what she said. So I tried, I went to the bank to get a loan, and I asked for as much as I could get because I figured you needed working capital. Of course, they laughed when they saw Mark's check and we didn't have a car and I didn't have a job, so of course they wouldn't give me a loan. But if you get on your knees and you have grit, you can find the money to do whatever it is that you want to do in America. We live in the land of opportunity, so women can find whatever they want. You have to create the desire. And so I started selling and started realizing how amazing this opportunity was. And one of those times throughout our Mary Kay career, Mark got orders to go overseas. I was a brand new sales director and had just had an offspring. Didn't really even know what I was doing, and he was going to Panama for 18 months. And so we had to make a decision. Do I go to Panama and give up my Mary Kay career and take our kids with us for 18 months? Or do I stay here and be successful in Mary Kay and Mark go to Panama without me? So I wanted to stay here and be successful in Mary Kay, but Mark loves me a ton. And so I said, I'll tell you what, you go to Panama, I'll win a Cadillac, and then when you get back, you know, we'll make the next duty station. And Mark went to Panama. I moved home to where my mom lives in Nebraska. My mom was not in Mary Kay, wouldn't be on my team for Red Jacket, wouldn't be on my team for the first car, wouldn't be on my team to become a director. She just was not interested. Well, when I moved home, I sold more product to her friends than she was making working at the bank. So my mom signed up to become a Mary Kay consultant. And guess what? She was going into DIQ by the time I earned that Cadillac. I picked the Cadillac up and Mark arrived 3 days later. And we went to our next duty station. And our next duty station was in Orlando. And in Orlando, we had a surprise baby. And so Carly came along and I was on bed rest, and guess what? They sent him away for 45 days again. Did no soul, but you know, captains' wives take care of their soldiers' wives when they're out of town. And so the captain's wife would come over and bring me food, and I mean, she became a part of my unit. She's still in my unit today. I mean, and she was taking care of my kids. And so throughout my whole Mary Kay career and all those moves, you just sprinkle Mary Kay in your life and whatever's happened with it. We moved to El Paso, Texas for just 10 short months. And really, I was on my knees every night. Please, Lord, I need to move somewhere else because I don't want to live in El Paso. And sure enough, I was only there 10 months, but long enough to sprinkle a little Mary Kay there. And I still have a consultant that was with me in El Paso, Texas. And then to San Angelo, back to the place where I was introduced to Mary Kay. And just because I know that God moved us back to San Angelo to find the woman who offered me the opportunity, because I never saw the woman after that day, after that facial. And I come back and I go to get my nails done, and I was, you know, earning my pink Cadillac and re-earning it, and I walked into a nail salon and there she was. And I was having like a little happy dance all around the room. So I immediately went home, I made a big, huge basket of Mary Kay and took it to her and told her that she was an angel from God that crossed my path, and I'm so happy that she did her job, and what she did changed my life forever. So we were stationed in San Angelo for a while, and then back to San Antonio. And we moved to San Antonio right after I won the first trip. We finished the trip and then moved. I had all my prizes and everything shipped to Cindy's ranch because we didn't know where we were going to live. So because we lived in base housing for a little bit before we found our house. Moved into an amazing house, put our daughter in the school of her choice. Those are the things you get to do when you're successful. And so we went on our first top director trip, and that's when I learned to finish and finish big. And the purpose behind me going on that first top director trip is I have an amazing husband, and he needs to be around amazing men. And I knew he would have a blast, and it was our 20th wedding anniversary, and I said, we're going. And we were a long shot from it come June. But you know what? I knew walking into June there was no way I was not going. And so when you have that inside of you, you'll do whatever it takes. Whatever it takes. All the way down to the finish line. And there were many times it was, are we going to do this? Are we not? Are we going to do this? And it was the first time, and I know this sounds crazy, Mark and I have been in church forever. I grew up on the front row, and we were always 30 minutes to an hour early. My dad and mom made us sit on the front row. But Mark and I had really never knelt down and prayed together like hard. And we did the night that we were finishing up our first trip. And it completely changed our relationship and our life. And so sometimes you need to set a goal so darn big that there's only way you're going to make it is get on your knees and get on your knees together. And so we did that. on a Greek island cruise the next year, and Mark knew everyone on the ship. You have to know, he's total extrovert. So he knew everyone on the ship, including the captain. I think he drove the ship with the captain. I haven't wrote it down. But on the special night when you have dinner with the captain on the cruise, Mark got to wear his uniform. And we have a picture of Mark in his dress blues with the captain of the ship that took us to Greece. And in Greece, we went to Kudasi, and we went to Ephesus, and we went to Pompeii, we went to Mary's house, and we went to Santorini, and Mark and I cooked together in Sicily. Oh my gosh, you couldn't do that on the PFC's income, I can tell you that. Or even a first sergeant, which is how Mark retired. And then we went to Spain, and Mark went golfing with the president of Mary Kay while I went to the Rock of Gibraltar. I mean, to think that I was standing on the Rock of Gibraltar is amazing. We saw the beautiful beaches, we watched the Spanish horses, and the most beautiful Spanish dancers I've ever seen in my life. That's what I remember about Spain, is those women are so beautiful and so amazing, and they can dance. And Mary Kay has this gorgeous dinner for you at the gala, and all these people come out and watch. I mean, all these dancers come out and you get to watch them. And then, oh my gosh, the company has a trip to Monte Carlo, Monaco, the second smallest country in the world to the Vatican. I mean, it's the second smallest country. It's the only principality left in the world. I didn't know that. I didn't know where it was. I had to get out the map and figure it out. Mark was really telling me all about the country, because in Monaco, there's these famous casinos, and Mark really loves to play cards, and so he was so excited about that. But I was excited because they have red Ferraris there. And I know that I'm a really quiet person, but there is a secret I have to tell you. I love red Ferraris. I love to drive fast. That's the only crazy thing I do in my life, but if I could get behind the wheel of a red Ferrari and drive at 120 miles an hour, I would be the happiest person on earth. So here we are. We're in Monaco, and Mark's behind the scenes making this plan about how this red Ferrari is going to show up at the hotel and he's going to take me for a ride. He's telling Gary Jinks, does Susan have to show up to that director's meeting? Because I think I found a red Ferrari and she really needs to drive one. And Gary Jinks says, well, no, if you think that that will help Susan be successful, you should have her drive that red Ferrari. Well, come to find out, all the Ferraris were rented, and I didn't get to drive the red Ferrari, but I walked outside of the hotel that we were at. I don't remember, it was Inner Circle. I think it was Inner Circle, and there's a red Ferrari parked outside the hotel in Dallas, and I had my picture taken with it. Red Ferraris show up in my life all the time. It's so crazy. And I have a consultant who has tickets for me to drive a red Ferrari. I said, I'm not ready to do that yet. I have a lot of work to do, but I'm going to drive a red Ferrari, and I'm going to drive it so darn fast. But another part of our trip, I know people don't know that about me. I usually don't share it. Mark's the only person that knows, but I love to drive fast. The other thing I love is I love to sail. Well, in Monaco, this has to be really probably my favorite thing and Mark's favorite thing. The company rented sailboats for the top sales directors to race them. Well, you don't tell a top sales director that it's a race unless we all wanted to win. So Daryl Overcash was on our a sailboat, Vicky Picarelli's mooring ship and her husband, Beth Pyland, Mark and I. Now, Beth Pyland didn't quite have as much fun because she doesn't like motion, but I loved the sailboat race because we all got on, they taught all the men to jib the sail, and they gave the women the wheel, and we raced those sailboats in the Mediterranean. It was life-changing for me. I loved it so much. And then we stopped outside of Monaco in this little cove, and you could look out and see the most beautiful blue water you could ever see in your whole life. And you could see, because Monaco's there somewhere, but it's so small, the French Riviera and the Italian Riviera right before us, and in the ocean. All the top sales directors ported in their sailboat. And we could wave at, the staff and the other sales directors, and they pull out this beautiful meal from underneath the sailboat. And we sat on the sailboat in the Mediterranean and had an amazing meal. And then they said if we wanted to jump in, we could. And I was like, yes, I'm jumping in the Mediterranean. This is so amazing, because I love to swim. Well, my husband doesn't really love to swim, but he's made me do a lot of things I don't like to do in my life. So I said, if I'm jumping, you're jumping. And so the company has, if you watch the video ever of Monaco, Mark and I are jumping in the Mediterranean together. So we have so many incredible memories. And I take pictures and I blow them up big and I put them on the walls of my house. So if you ever come to see me, you'll see pictures of all of this. And Mark got to go to the casino, but guess what? It's 15,000 euros to sit down at the table. I said, no, you're not sitting down there. But he had a blast. It was amazing. And then to have the experience to go to Beijing, China, on the 50th anniversary with Mary Kay, and be with the 300 national sales directors in the Emirati and 120 top sales directors, 800 of us, celebrating the 50th anniversary in Beijing, China. And when I told Mark we were going to Beijing and we were going to have dinner in the Great Hall of People, he said, no, you're not. You're not going to the Great Hall of People. That's like the White House. You can't have dinner in the Great Hall of People. That's where very few presidents have gone there. And I said, that's what they said, and it was on the video. I don't know what that is. I had no idea, but he's military, so he knew exactly what went on in the Great Hall of the People. That's where serious stuff happens for the communist countries. They all come together, they each have a wing. He explained the whole thing to me. I was like, wow, your kids are having dinner in the Great Hall of the People. Well, I had dinner with my husband in the Great Hall of the People, and Cindy was there, and Kristen was there, and oh my goodness. It was like golden walls, and it was the most beautiful thing, the most amazing entertainment you could ever see in your life. But just to be standing there in the presence of all those women in a foreign country like China, and we opened in prayer in the Great Hall of People in a communist country. Yes, we are changing the world through this great Mary Kay opportunity. And then, of course, the Great Wall. Who doesn't want to climb the Great Wall? In fact, 10 years prior to us even knowing that we were going to go to China, I had this thing on my wall that said the Great Wall, because I've always written down all the places I want to go, like on bucket list, and I found one at Hobby Lobby and I put it up on the wall. And the company came down to find out about skincare classes and what we were doing to sell and stuff, and one of them said, what's up with the Great Wall thing? I said, oh, it's on my bucket list. And I didn't really receive it until after I'd been there, but he said, well, who knows? Maybe Mary Kay will arrange that for you one day. And there it happened. It was spoken to my life, and there I am. So, and then this year, the 4 Seasons in Hawaii, the greatest place to relax in the world. To hang out in the Serenity Pool, to have a couples massage in the hut by the ocean, for Mark to go golfing with all his buddies. Because you see, you go on more than one top director trip, and all of a sudden your husband has way more friends than you, especially if you have one like mine. Am I right? Yeah, I'm telling you. They love it. They have golfing buddies. Before I was finished, and I was like, stop texting all those people. I'm not done. Because, wow. Mark was making plans to golf with all the guys before I was even finished with the trip, because he'd made those friends, and there was no way I wasn't finishing so he could go golfing for sure. We were eating and dining in with world-class champions, and that's what we do in Mary Kay. So if you want to be a world-class leader, you've got to go dine with world-class champions, and that's who, both of these women are world-class champions, and it was so much fun to be in Hawaii with them. Which brings me to today. My current purpose and mission is to empower women to live out their freedom, and to rise above, or to rise up leaders that God intended them to be a part of this Mary Kay business opportunity. And, of course, to honor God. But more than that, I want to honor my father here on earth. The example and the legacy that he has given my family, I want the whole world to know who he was and how he changed my life a long time ago. And I believe that if you are true to who you are, you will change generations. And my dad was true to who he is. My dad and my grandfather was a farmer. My dad was raised on a farm. I think that that's where work ethic comes from. My dad used to make us mow the lawn one direction, and then the next time we mow the other direction, and then mow the other direction, so the blade of the grass stands straight up. He said, if you're going to do something, do it with excellence. And if we didn't do it, he made us go back and fix it. And so there's some great lessons in that. If we did a paper route, he expected the paper to be on the front, by the front door, not in somebody's yard that they had to walk out and get it. I mean, that's the kind of excellence that my dad poured into me. I didn't really know it or understand it till I was already really successful in Mary Kay. I didn't know where that innate desire to be excellent came from until God unfolded this whole journey before me. And for many years I thought, how come I'm not more successful than I am right now? Don't ever say that to yourself. God has a perfect journey and a perfect plan, and he will reveal to you every step of the way if you listen with the small voice that is being spoken to you, because then the billboard will get big and you will understand exactly what you're supposed to do. Well, upon graduation, my dad gave us all a book, and he said, I'll give you $100 if you'll read this book. Well, I didn't read it right away because I don't want to read a book. I just want to go off to college. Now, I was always on purpose. I went to an all-girls college because I was not going to meet a man or let one get in my way. I wanted an education. I met my husband the first weekend. That's when you know you are not in charge. Someone else is, thank God. But my dad gave me this book by Zig Ziglar called See You at the Top. And my dream and my passion, my dad has Parkinson's, and I want to be able to hand him this book when I debut as a national sales director and say, Dad, I'm at the top. Thank you so much for pouring into my life. My mom is an amazing mother. She is so much fun, and she was a hardworking woman too, raised by a single mom. But I'm going to tell you right now, you can have anything you want, but you got to find something that moves your spirit. And I shared with your sales directors today 5 critical questions that you need to ask yourself. And so if I don't get a chance to share it with everyone, I'm going to ask you to ask your sales director to share it with you, because when I did those critical questions, I found out who I was. I found out what moves me emotionally, which is what's going to move you to the next place. And you will live out your values once you understand what you're willing to fight for. And I'm willing to fight. And I'm willing to fight to honor not just God, but to honor my Father here on earth and to honor my parents on that seminar stage. And I believe that we all have to never take our freedom for granted. You know, it's so funny that I named my future national area the Freedom Area before Mary Kay came out with a white car, the red jacket, and the blue suit. It was a huge billboard sign. Everywhere I go, I hear the word freedom. And I know that this is supposed to be the year for me to become a national sales director. So I want you to think, how many of you have ever seen the movie Braveheart? And do you remember the very ending of that movie, what he said? He lay there, and they were going to, completely cut his head off, and he didn't care. He was going to make sure that every person heard him scream from the loudest voice he could scream, freedom. Because if you're willing to fight for your freedom, whatever freedom means to you, you're going to have amazing success. And so I'm going to close with this, because I know y'all know this song. I just changed the words. But I'm proud to be an American. If tomorrow all things were gone that I'd worked for in my life, and I had to start all over with my children and my husband, I'd thank my lucky stars to be living here today, because the flag still stands for freedom, and they will never take that away. I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free, and I won't forget the men and women who died, who gave their right to me. I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, because there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. From the lakes of Minnesota till the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston and New York to LA. Well, there's pride in every American heart, and it's time to stand and fight. I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free, and I won't forget the men and women who died, who gave their right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend it here still today, because there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. God bless all of you.